Stop right there. Before you even think about getting behind the wheel this December, you need to hear what I'm about to tell you. One of these brand new UK driving laws could strip away your license, drain hundreds of pounds from your bank account, or worse, saddle you with a criminal record that follows you for years. These changes are coming into effect in just days. And here's the shocking part. The vast majority of British drivers have absolutely no clue they're happening. I'm deadly serious when I say this could be the difference between keeping your independence on the road or losing your driving privileges entirely. Stay with me right now, because what you're about to discover could literally protect everything you've worked for. This isn't just another routine update. This is urgent, this is critical, and this affects you directly. Hello and welcome back to UK Pension Insider. I'm absolutely delighted you've joined me today because we need to have an incredibly important conversation. December 2025 is ushering in some of the most dramatic and far-reaching changes to UK driving legislation that we've witnessed in well over a decade. These aren't minor tweaks or small adjustments. These are substantial modifications that will fundamentally change how we drive, where we can park, what we can do with our phones, and how we interact with other road users. Here's what concerns me most. The government hasn't exactly been broadcasting these changes with the urgency they deserve. There's been no massive public awareness campaign, no leaflets through every door, no primetime television announcements. What this means is that millions of hardworking British drivers, people just like you and me, are going to wake up one morning in December completely blindsided by regulations they knew nothing about. They'll suddenly find themselves on the wrong side of the law through absolutely no fault of their own, simply because nobody told them the rules had changed. That's precisely why UK Pension Insider exists. I'm here to cut through the noise, to bring you the information that matters, to keep you protected, informed, and confident as you navigate all the legislative changes that impact your daily life. Whether it's pensions, benefits, healthcare, or as we're discussing today, driving laws, my mission is to make sure you're never caught off guard. Today's video might genuinely be one of the most valuable pieces of content I've ever created for this channel, because these driving law changes don't just affect some drivers, they affect every single person who sits behind a steering wheel in the United Kingdom. Whether you're 25 or 75, whether you drive daily or occasionally, whether you're a new driver or you've been on the roads for 40 years, these changes apply to you. So do me a favor right now. Hit that subscribe button and turn on those notifications, because this information genuinely could save you thousands of pounds in fines and penalties, protect your driving license from points or disqualification, and keep you on the right side of the law. Let's dive straight into these critical changes, and I'm going to explain each one in clear, straightforward language so you know exactly what's expected of you. Let's start with something that affects almost every driver on British roads today. Mobile phone regulations. Now, you might be thinking you already know the rules about phones and driving, but I'm here to tell you that from December 2025, those regulations are becoming even stricter, closing loopholes that some drivers have been exploiting for years. The new law eliminates every shred of ambiguity. There's no more room for interpretation or creative excuses. Under these updated regulations, any interaction whatsoever with a handheld mobile phone while you're in control of a vehicle with the engine running is completely and utterly illegal. Let me break down what this actually means in your day-to-day driving. Even if you're sitting in completely stationary traffic that hasn't moved for 5 minutes, you cannot touch that phone. Even if you're stopped at a red light with your handbrake on, you cannot pick up that phone. Even if you think you're just quickly glancing at who's calling or checking one tiny notification, you absolutely cannot interact with that device. The only exceptions, and these are very specific, are if your phone is securely mounted in an approved hands-free cradle and you're using voice commands only without touching the screen, or if you're safely parked in a designated parking space with the engine completely switched off. Not just in neutral, not just with the handbrake on, the engine must be off. Let me paint you a picture of what this means in practical, everyday scenarios. You cannot pick up your phone to change the song that's playing through your car speakers. You cannot grab it to quickly adjust your satellite navigation when you realize you've taken a wrong turn. You cannot hold it to answer an incoming call, even if you immediately put it on speakerphone. You cannot check a text message that's just buzzed through, even if you think it might be urgent. Every single one of these actions is now explicitly and undeniably illegal, and every single one will result in serious penalties if you're caught. What are those penalties? We're talking about 6 penalty points on your license and a 200-pound fine for each and every offense. Now let's think about what 6 points actually means. If you're a new driver who passed your test less than 2 years ago, 6 points means automatic disqualification. You don't just lose those points, you lose your license completely and have to start the entire process from scratch, including both the theory test and the practical driving test. All that time, money, and effort you invested in getting your license in the first place, gone in one moment of distraction. The government isn't tightening these rules arbitrarily. The statistics behind this decision are genuinely sobering. Comprehensive research demonstrates that using a mobile phone while driving makes you 4 times more likely to be involved in a collision. 4 times. That's not a small increase. That's a massive elevation in risk. Studies show that it takes just 3 seconds of distraction for a collision to occur, and when you're traveling at 30 miles per hour, you cover 100 feet in those 3 seconds. That's the length of 3 double-decker buses. Imagine traveling blindfolded for the length of 3 buses. That's essentially what happens when you glance at your phone. The police aren't sitting back either. They're deploying more sophisticated detection methods than ever before, including specialized cameras that can see directly into vehicles and identify phone use. Officers are receiving enhanced training to spot the telltale signs of phone distraction, things like drivers looking down at their laps, vehicles drifting within lanes, or delayed reactions at traffic lights. The technology and training are advancing, which means getting caught is becoming increasingly likely. Moving forward, let's discuss intelligent speed assistance systems, another major change coming in December 2025. This technology is becoming mandatory equipment in all new vehicles sold from this date forward. These aren't simple speedometers. These are sophisticated systems that use GPS data combined with traffic sign recognition cameras to know precisely what the speed limit is on whatever road you're currently driving on. When you exceed that limit, the system responds. You'll receive visual warnings on your dashboard, often a flashing speed limit sign or a warning light. You'll hear audio warnings, which might be a beep, a chime, or a voice alert. Many of these systems can actually intervene in your vehicle's operation, automatically reducing your acceleration or applying gentle braking to bring you back within the legal limit. Now, before anyone panics, drivers can override this intervention by pressing firmly on the accelerator pedal. The system isn't designed to physically prevent you from accelerating. What it's designed to do is make you actively and consciously aware when you're breaking the speed limit. It removes the excuse of not noticing or not knowing. You have to deliberately choose to exceed the limit by pushing through the resistance. If you're driving an older vehicle, you don't need to worry about retrofitting this technology immediately. These requirements apply to new cars manufactured and sold from December 2025 onwards. However, if you're considering purchasing a new vehicle, you'll need to familiarize yourself with how these systems work. This is particularly important for situations like overtaking on single carriageway roads, where you might need to briefly exceed the speed limit for safety reasons when passing another vehicle. Understanding how to properly override the system in these specific circumstances while remaining legal and safe is crucial. Remember, and this is vitally important, you remain legally responsible for obeying all speed limits regardless of what the technology does or doesn't do. The system is an assistance tool, not a replacement for your own awareness and judgment. Let's address something that's caused confusion and debate for years: footwear while driving. I've heard every argument imaginable about this topic. Some people insist you can drive in anything. Others claim certain footwear is definitely illegal. The truth is, until now, the rules have been somewhat vague and open to interpretation. The new Highway Code updates from December 2025 are settling this debate once and for all with crystal clear guidance. The updated code states explicitly that drivers must wear appropriate footwear that allows full control of the vehicle at all times. So what does inappropriate footwear look like? Flip-flops are explicitly identified as inappropriate because they can slip off your foot or get caught under pedals at critical moments. High heels don't allow proper pedal feel and sensitivity, and the heel itself can get stuck behind pedals, preventing you from moving your foot quickly in an emergency. Extremely thick-soled boots, like certain work boots or fashion boots, impair your ability to feel the pedals properly and gauge how much pressure you're applying. The penalties for driving in inappropriate footwear are not insignificant. You can receive a fine of up to £100 and 3 penalty points if police determine that your footwear contributed to poor vehicle control or played a role in an incident. My practical recommendation is simple. Keep a pair of proper driving shoes in your car if you wear different footwear for work or social occasions. A pair of comfortable trainers or flat shoes in the boot means you can always change before driving, and you're never putting yourself at risk. Now, let's discuss parking regulations because there are significant changes coming that will affect where and how you can park, particularly if you live in or regularly drive through residential areas. Local councils are being granted enhanced enforcement powers from December 2025, and the fines associated with parking violations are increasing substantially. Parking on pavements, even partially, is becoming a much more serious offense with real teeth behind the penalties. Currently, pavement parking is only officially illegal in London. From December, councils across the entire country will have the power to issue penalty charge notices of £70 for pavement parking. In Greater London specifically, that increases to £130. The reasoning behind this crackdown is fundamentally about accessibility and safety. When cars park on pavements, they force wheelchair users to navigate around them, often into the road. People with mobility scooters face the same dangerous situation. Parents pushing prams or buggies with children inside have to step into traffic. Visually impaired people using canes or guide dogs are forced off the pavement. These situations create genuine danger and distress for vulnerable people who have every right to use pavements safely. There's also a significant change regarding idling vehicles that many drivers won't be aware of. Leaving your engine running while parked, which is known as idling, is becoming a finable offense in many more areas across the country. The initial penalty is £20, but this increases to £80 if not paid within the set time period. This particularly applies near schools where children are walking, near hospitals where air quality impacts sick people, and in residential areas where people live and breathe. The environmental reasoning behind this is actually very sound. An idling engine produces twice the emissions of a moving car. It contributes significantly to local air pollution, particularly the dangerous particulate matter that damages lungs. It's completely unnecessary in the vast majority of situations. Modern engines don't need warming up like older vehicles did. The best way to warm an engine is to drive gently, not to sit stationary burning fuel and pumping out pollution. For those of you who use your vehicle for any work-related purposes, this next section is absolutely crucial, and I cannot stress this enough. The penalties for driving without proper insurance are becoming much more severe from December 2025, and crucially, the definitions of what requires business insurance are being more strictly enforced and monitored. Here's what catches many people completely off guard. If you use your car for anything beyond standard social, domestic, and pleasure purposes, you need business insurance coverage. Standard car insurance policies do not cover work use. So what counts as work use? Driving to multiple work locations during your working day, such as visiting different client sites. Carrying work equipment, tools, or samples in your vehicle. Transporting colleagues or clients as part of your job responsibilities, using your vehicle for any paid delivery or courier services, even if you only do this occasionally or as a side income. Many people assume that because they're not a taxi driver or delivery driver as their main job, their regular car insurance is fine. That's a dangerous assumption. If you have an accident while using your car for any of these purposes and your insurance doesn't cover business use, your entire claim will be void. You'll be personally liable for all damages and injuries. You could face prosecution for driving without insurance. The new penalties for driving without proper insurance are genuinely eye-watering. You'll receive a fixed penalty of £300 and 6 penalty points as a minimum. In more serious cases, particularly if there's an accident involved, you could face court prosecution with an unlimited fine and disqualification from driving for a significant period. Your vehicle can also be seized by police and crushed if you cannot prove proper insurance coverage at the roadside. Police forces have automatic number plate recognition systems fitted to their vehicles and positioned on roads throughout the country. These systems flag uninsured vehicles instantly. The officer doesn't even need to suspect anything. The computer alerts them automatically. My strong advice is to check your insurance policy documents carefully today. Look at the specific wording about how you can use the vehicle. If you're unsure about anything, call your insurance provider and explain exactly how you use your vehicle. Be completely honest because any deception will void your policy. Let's move on to driving license renewals because there are important changes to the process that affect everyone, but particularly senior drivers. Your photocard driving license needs to be renewed every 10 years to update the photograph. From December, the DVLA is implementing a new enhanced verification system that's more rigorous than the previous process. The new system requires additional identity checks beyond what was needed before. You'll need to provide more documentation to prove your identity. The processing times may be longer during the initial rollout period while the DVLA adjusts to the new system, potentially taking up to 3 weeks instead of the usual 1-week turnaround. My strong advice is not to leave your renewal until the last minute. If your license expires in early 2026, consider renewing it in November before the new system fully launches. You can renew up to 6 months before expiry without losing any time on your license validity period. For drivers aged 70 and over, you need to renew your license every 3 years, and this fundamental requirement hasn't changed. However, there's now much greater scrutiny being applied to the medical self-declaration forms you must complete as part of the renewal process. You have a legal obligation to inform the DVLA about any medical conditions that might affect your driving ability. This includes conditions like diabetes, epilepsy, strokes, heart conditions, sleep apnea, Parkinson's disease, dementia, severe arthritis, visual impairments, and various other health issues. From December, the DVLA is working much more closely with medical professionals and GP surgeries. They have better systems for cross-checking information between different databases. Providing false information on these forms is not a minor administrative matter. It can result in prosecution, fines up to £1,000, and obviously revocation of your license. More importantly, if you have an accident and it emerges that you failed to declare a relevant medical condition, your insurance will be void, leaving you personally liable for potentially enormous costs. Drug driving enforcement is getting significantly tougher from December 2025, and this is an area where many well-intentioned people fall foul of the law without realizing they're doing anything wrong. Police forces across the UK are being equipped with new generation roadside testing devices that can detect a much wider range of substances more accurately and more quickly than previous technology. Here's what you absolutely need to understand. It's not just illegal drugs like cannabis, cocaine, MDMA, and similar substances that can result in prosecution. Certain prescription medications and even over-the-counter medicines can also result in a drug driving charge if they impair your ability to drive safely. This includes strong painkillers containing codeine or tramadol, some antidepressants, and anti-anxiety medications like diazepam or certain SSRIs, some antihistamines that cause drowsiness, particularly older types, sleeping tablets of any kind, and even some cold and flu remedies that contain ingredients affecting reaction times. If you're taking any medication, whether prescribed by a doctor or purchased from a pharmacy or supermarket, check the packaging carefully for warnings about driving or operating machinery. If there's any warning at all, or if you're unsure, ask your pharmacist or doctor directly whether the medication could affect your driving. Don't assume that because something is legal or prescribed, it's automatically safe for driving. The penalties for drug driving are severe and life-changing. You'll receive a minimum 12-month driving ban. You'll face an unlimited fine determined by the court based on the circumstances. You'll have a criminal record that can affect employment, travel, and many other aspects of your life. Your insurance costs will skyrocket for years after the ban ends, sometimes doubling or tripling your premiums. Let me talk about dashboard cameras and the new rules from December regarding footage sharing. Dash cams have become incredibly popular in recent years, and rightly so. They provide excellent evidence in accidents, can prove your innocence when someone makes a false claim against you, and can record dangerous or criminal behavior by other road users. However, from December 2025, there are stricter rules around posting dash cam footage on social media platforms. You can absolutely still use dash cam footage for legitimate purposes like insurance claims and reporting dangerous driving to police through official channels. What's changing specifically are the rules around public sharing on platforms like Facebook, YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, Twitter, or any other social media. If you post dashcam footage publicly, you must blur number plates and faces to comply with data protection regulations, specifically GDPR. Posting identifiable footage without consent from the people shown can result in complaints to the Information Commissioner's Office. The ICO can issue substantial fines under GDPR regulations, ranging from hundreds to thousands of pounds depending on the severity and circumstances. Use your dashcam for legitimate purposes. Record everything while you drive. Submit footage to police or insurers when needed. But think very carefully before posting footage publicly, and if you do, ensure you've properly anonymized it first. Let's talk about pedestrian priority rules at junctions because enforcement of these regulations is being significantly stepped up from December. These rules were actually introduced to the Highway Code back in early 2022, but many drivers either don't know about them or choose to ignore them. That's about to change dramatically with increased enforcement and higher penalties. The rule is straightforward but represents a significant shift in traditional driving behavior. When you're turning into or out of a junction, pedestrians who are crossing or waiting to cross the road you're turning into have priority. You must give way to them. This applies whether you're turning left or right. The fundamental principle is that pedestrians shouldn't have to wait for a gap in turning traffic to cross the road. Many drivers still operate under the old assumption that vehicles turning have priority over pedestrians. They approach junctions, see pedestrians waiting, and turn anyway, forcing pedestrians to wait. Others simply don't notice pedestrians or don't check properly before turning. From December, police forces are conducting specific targeted enforcement operations focusing on this behavior at problematic junctions. If you're caught failing to give way to pedestrians in this situation, you'll receive a 100-pound fine and 3 penalty points on your license. More importantly, if your failure to give way results in a collision or near miss, you could be prosecuted for more serious offenses like careless or dangerous driving. The penalties for careless and inconsiderate driving generally are being increased from December 2025. The definition of what constitutes these offenses is being more widely enforced and interpreted to include behaviors that many people might think are minor, but which actually create danger and frustration on our roads. Middle lane hogging on motorways, where drivers sit in the middle lane when the left lane is completely clear, is explicitly mentioned as careless driving. This behavior reduces road capacity, forces other vehicles to overtake in the outside lane, and demonstrates poor lane discipline. Not using your indicators when turning or changing lanes is another clear example. Indicators exist to communicate your intentions to other road users, and failing to use them creates uncertainty and danger. Driving too close to the vehicle in front, known as tailgating, is careless driving that dramatically increases accident risk. Undertaking other vehicles by passing on the left on motorways when not appropriate is dangerous and illegal. The fixed penalty notice for these offenses is increasing from 100 pounds to 150 pounds, and you'll receive 4 penalty points on your license. In more serious cases, or for repeat offenders, police can refer the matter directly to court, where you could face fines up to 2,500 pounds and disqualification from driving. We've covered an enormous amount of information today, and I genuinely appreciate you staying with me through all these critical changes. I know it might feel overwhelming when you hear about so many new regulations at once. You might be thinking this is all too much to remember or wondering how you'll keep track of everything. Let me bring this together for you with some clarity and perspective. The key message I want you to take away from this video is simple. Staying informed is your best protection. Knowledge is power. These law changes coming in December 2025 aren't designed to catch you out or trap honest drivers. They're being introduced to make our roads safer for everyone, to reduce accidents and casualties, to protect vulnerable road users like pedestrians, cyclists, and motorcyclists, to address modern challenges like phone distraction and drug driving, to ensure that drivers maintain their vehicles and insurance properly. Yes, some of these changes require us to adapt our habits and behaviors. Some might feel inconvenient at first, but that's honestly a small price to pay for safer roads, protected licenses, and peace of mind that we're doing things properly and legally. My practical advice to every single one of you watching this is straightforward. Don't assume that decades of driving experience means you don't need to update your knowledge. Roads are constantly evolving. Technology is changing how vehicles operate. Traffic volumes are increasing year after year. New safety research emerges regularly that informs better practices. As responsible drivers, we have an obligation to keep ourselves informed and adapt our behavior accordingly. Driving is a privilege, not a right, and that privilege comes with responsibilities. Make sure your vehicle is properly maintained and legal. Check your tires regularly for tread depth and damage. Ensure all lights are working. Keep your windscreen clean and chip-free. Check that your insurance policy covers everything you actually use your vehicle for. Ensure your driving license is current and valid with the correct photograph. Be honest about any health conditions that might affect your driving ability. These are simple things, but they're absolutely crucial to staying legal and safe. If you're uncertain about any of these changes, please don't guess or assume. Visit the official gov.uk website for detailed guidance on all aspects of driving law. Contact the DVLA directly if you have questions about licensing or medical declarations. Speak to your insurance provider if you're unsure whether your policy covers your needs. These organizations exist to help you, and it's far better to ask questions and get clarity than to proceed with uncertainty and potentially break the law. Knowledge is meant to be shared, not hoarded. By watching this video today, you're now ahead of the vast majority of drivers who have absolutely no idea these changes are coming. They'll be caught completely off guard in December. But you won't be. You're informed, you're prepared, you can adjust your behavior and ensure you're compliant. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being part of the UK Pension Insider community. This channel exists specifically to keep you informed, protected, and confident as you navigate all the changes that life and government throw at us. Whether it's pensions, benefits, healthcare, or as we've discussed today, driving laws, my commitment is to bring you accurate, timely, and useful information presented in a way that's easy to understand and act upon. If you found today's video helpful, please give it a thumbs up. It genuinely helps the algorithm show this content to more people who desperately need it. If you haven't subscribed to UK Pension Insider yet, please click that subscribe button and the bell icon next to it right now. That way, you'll be notified every single time I upload new content. I regularly publish videos about staying safe, understanding your rights, protecting yourself from scams, navigating legal changes, maximizing your pension, and so much more.